so that'll be underway. The new website is coming up, and what I will be suggesting as part of the remit of the annual meeting when setting the terms of reference is that perhaps IT issues, for want of a better description, come under the umbrella of the Finance Committee, just to give them a home.
Yeah.
At the meeting of the Finance Committee, I was absent due to sickness, and give my apologies. One of the questions that was raised was the external audit dates. I've just received the paperwork, and they've confirmed that the external audit return is 9th of June. So there will be a display of a public notice from the 27th of April to the 10th of May, making everyone aware that they can access the records, they can access them anyway, and the return documents will be available from the 11th of May through to the 8th of June for the public to examine.
Okay. Item 10, minutes of the Planning and Development Committee on the 29th of January. Councillor Fox, I think you've
No.
Oh, sorry.
As Chairman, Madam Mayor, I formally move these minutes be approved and adopted. And I'll take them through page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Are they agreed?
Okay, agreed.
Agreed.
Okay. The minutes of the Planning Development Committee held on the 10th of March.
Madam Mayor, I move the minutes of the 10th of March for Planning Committee be approved and adopted. Through page by page, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, 5, page 6,
Page 6.
No, sorry.
7. Yeah, page 7.
Right.
It's just to confirm that I put a report in about the station house at Newsham, and it will come to the next Finance Committee.
Thank you. Page 8.
Page 9, page 10, 11, and 12, and 2 with others which I should talk about on page 13, page 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and 21. Can I just comment on the heritage one? The heritage office produced a really good report and it's a really good document. I was quite surprised how many really good buildings there are in Blythe. We're also looking at buildings not just because of the architectural merit, but the historical links, like the Estate and Masters House at Blythe and one at Newsham. And we are compiling a document of all the buildings of local interest. All the occupiers will be informed that we'd like to put them on a list, that their property will be put on the list. They don't have to do anything, there aren't any financial implications. I think there is a real intention to do something at the annual meeting to use that document as a discussion document with the public. And I think people would be surprised to see how many really good buildings there are in Blythe when you do look around.
Message from Aaron by Lisa.
Okay.
You didn't know it was Ben Twippers.
Minutes of this.
10.3.
Sorry, 10.3.
Madam Mayor, I think the people might be aware that the County Council has got a consultation exercise on the planning process. One of the issues they raised is that in the past, parish councils have always been consulted on planning applications. They're now looking to, in a sense, do away with that and let the county officers decide. We're strongly opposed to that. I think there's over 100 parishes have actually put objections into that county, and other organisations such as Campaign for Ruling and other bodies are interested in that. We're strongly opposed to that, because we think Blythe should have a say in all the planning applications. And yes, the decision is made by county, but we think all the parishes should be able to put forward their views on all the planning applications, and it shouldn't be left to an officer, the county council, to decide all the planning applications. We're quite aware that at Blythe it needs to be a valid planning reason. You can't just say, I don't like this application. There has to be solid grounds for it. And
Which
here
is
at
what we
Blythe,
like to sometimes.
well, here in Blythe, when we do put forward valid reasons, I'm not bothered what other areas do, but we put forward valid reasons whenever we object or approve a proposal. And I wouldn't like to lose that opportunity to comment on applications. So we did submit a response to county, and there have been various meetings. I know you attended one yourself, and I think Steve will be attending one as well. I'm not sure there's been any further updates since then.
Well, I personally attended a meeting at the county council of the parish council chairs to meet the planning officer, and Karen Ledger gave the talk about why it was all happening and that. And myself and 3 other parish councillors strongly opposed it and gave reasons why, and one of the main reasons was that we're being ignored, and we've got a wealth of information on planning on this town council. When you look around, there's people who have been on Blythe Valley's Planning and Development Committee, at least 6 of us when I look around here that's been on it, and we have our own, I told them we had our own planning training, you know, which we go to, and we go to any county planning training that's going on, so that, you know, we knew exactly what we were doing, and we had a right to say what we wanted for this town. So that's what I said at that meeting, but they ignored it.
I think, Ma'am, the council has a draft letter that I prepared following the Planning and Development Committee, and that's a letter that you know, I based on the comments that had been made at that meeting, and I think the Planning and Development Committee felt that it was one that they wanted to bring to the council for the council to endorse, agree, disagree with, or whatever. It has not been sent to the county council yet, because it's just a draft for you to consider.
Can I endorse the draft and move that they accepted and sent out as quickly as possible? But can I particularly endorse the second to last paragraph about taking a long-term view that we'd like to explore the possibility of taking a Section 101 agency agreement, and if we don't want county councillors to do the job, our town councillors will be quite happy to do so in the long term.
Is that agreed by everyone?
I'm not quite sure what Councillor Gustafson is proposing here, because he has to recognise that whilst he and I might be happy to take on the role that the county currently performs as a planning authority, and we, between us, I think, and others here have considerable experience sitting on planning authority before, we couldn't possibly contemplate taking on board the role without also taking on board the staff, all the professional support that's required, and seek to ensure that we had the resources to do it. So at this point, I think that proposal is somewhat premature.
I didn't propose anything except for endorsing the letter, and the letter goes out. Draw Councillor Knox's attention to the very careful wording of, in the longer term, would like to explore the possible use. Not that we're going to take it on now, we'd just like to explore it.
But yeah, I'm quite happy to look at that in those terms. However, it's clear that the county hasn't yet taken a final decision about the proposals, and I think this idea, I think we recognise, has raised issues with them that are difficult to resolve. The leader said to me personally, incidentally, that the real problems in terms of timescale and dealing with planning applications wasn't in South East Northumberland. It wasn't the other ones back of Blythe Valley that had problems for them in terms of dealing with planning applications. And he had no objections to the way in which we in Blythe Valley, in Blythe Town Council, dealt with planning applications and put forward our proposals to them. The real problems for the county in terms of timescale lay in other parts of the county. And I certainly wouldn't want to have responsibility for areas such as Berwick or Hexham that are causing major problems for them in terms of timescale. It's not for me to comment on how those parish councils deal with planning applications under the current consultation process. But I also need to make it clear as Chairman of Planning, I think I did at the planning meeting, that I strongly object to the proposal to remove this part of the democratic process. I've made it clear elsewhere that that's the case, and I will challenge in whatever form is allowed through normal processes for local government here, decisions of that nature if they decide to follow that path at county. We took a decision some years ago in Blackburn to propose that we have parish councils when we knew that there was going to be a single unitary authority. The county councils of the day at that time recognised what they were taking on and that they would become the planning authority for the whole of the county. From day one, when the unitary authority was formed, they delegated responsibility to officers. It was one of the reasons we said that we needed a parish council to represent the interests of this community. Because out there, for those of us who got long experience as councillors, we know that planning applications cause problems for people on a personal basis and on a community basis, and that we need as councillors to address those issues, and that the unitary authority was perhaps too remote an authority to deal with those issues. This is why at that time we agreed to the setting up of parish councils in the fullest knowledge that we would be consulted on planning. For them now to turn around and say, well, we can't cope with this, because in essence that's what they are saying. We can't cope with this responsibility at this stage, then that's a matter for them to address and to deal with the problem. And it's not to take away what legal position that we have as a parish council in representing the interests of our community. And that's why I believe the Mayor at that meeting has made those concerns known in the strongest possible terms, and I support that.
Mr. Ricketts.
I think the comments have actually focused my mind, and on that paragraph, perhaps could actually suggest we add the words planning applications within Blythe to make it very clear that it's not what happens in Cramlington or elsewhere, but it's to look at a Blythe-focused solution. That's terrible English, but just add the words within Blythe, just to make it absolutely clear that what they do in the rest of the county is for the rest of the county. What this town council is focused on is applications within Blythe.
We're agreeing to send letters or
the dates from the top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give it over to you.
So is everybody happy with sending that letter with those amendments?
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. And 10.4, to note the consultation arrangements with Blythe Town Council's building of local interest list, and I'm really pleased with that report that's been done and all the work that's been put into it. And
Just to say, because your constituents, some of your constituents may come at you, what we're going to do next week is to all the buildings that are in the, or proposed to put in the register, we're going to hand deliver a letter addressed to the owner-occupier saying, here's the entry we propose, and here's what the local list does, and ask those to respond by the 1st of May. That's only to them. Then we can assess, what those people say, and then we'd be looking at starting the public consultation at the annual council on the 21st of May, and with the Mayor's consent, the annual town meeting on the 28th of May, we're looking at theming it and using it as part of the consultation process, so that we can get people involved, bringing the heritage to life, then sort of close a consultation beginning of July, consider suggestions, and hopefully adopt it on the 17th of September. Councillor Ellis, Mike.
Nice, Councillor Ellis.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. To get 100% response to this buildings of local interest, would we be delivering by hand, as it says, prepaid envelopes where they can return them?
Can do.
I think that way you could nearly ensure that would get 90% plus.
Yeah, anything to get a good return so
Yeah.
people look and do it. I think it's quite an exciting project. Sorry, I
And it will help all the generic comments that you
Thank you.
So is that agreed?
Agreed.
10.5, to receive a verbal report on the live congestion study workshop.
Yes, ma'am. I think there were some of us there. It's very interesting. It's the county council instructed ACOM consultants. My recollection is that their report should be with the county council within a couple of months. They then check it for accuracy and then it's released. They're looking for quick wins to speed up traffic, which is quite interesting. They're looking in the medium and longer term as well at what the problems are, what the solutions might be, and what the future problems might be. I suspect, and this is just me, some of the quick wins may be really looking at traffic light phasing and things like that. So it's more designed, it sounds a horrible word, but a holistic view to how to deal with traffic, to keep the traffic flowing. And certainly the workshop groups were coming up with some quite interesting ideas, I thought.
Councillor Potts.
Yeah, I was at the meeting as well. The main topic was actually Cooper Road. I think everybody realises that there's major problems there with traffic backing up onto the Spine Road at night time and rush hours. So they're looking at issues on Cooper Road, like, as I said, traffic lights, perhaps not doing right hand turns into the school, and looking at the roundabout near Asda, where a lot of people circulate around the roundabout to get down the road quicker. But I think they realise as well that in the long term, what we really need is another access road to Blythe. And there's been dotted lines on maps for a long time, but that's really what's needed. Or, you know, we could make the dual carriageway some of the other roads. They were looking at the factory sites up at the ones behind Cooper Road to see if there was a possibility of putting a road to the Kitty Brewster Bridge there somewhere. That's a little bit difficult. But it's really all the traffic in Blythe. Obviously there's more and more housing coming into the Asda estate there. So that's going to generate more traffic on Cooper Road. There's more housing going to be built on the road up to Cramlington from Newton End. There's another 350 houses going there. So all of the roads are going to become busier and busier as time goes on. I did look back at some Blythe Valley plans sort of 10, 15 years ago when they predicted then, oh, in 10 years' time there'll be a serious problem. We're well past that now. In addition, the railway line, I mean, it looks as though that's progressing very well. The Ashton Blythe railway line could open. And then you start looking, well, if they have a halt up at the roundabout at Kitty Brewster and you have another roundabout down at Newsom somewhere, that in itself is going to generate more traffic. So there's lots of traffic issues there. And everybody can see the problems are building up, and it's certainly trying to get Cooper Roads to some help there somewhere, but also to really look at the long-term plans. The county did apply 2 years ago now for this pinch point funding to get some more roads going, but it wasn't the right sort of scheme they applied for. But everyone's aware of the problem. It's just trying to come up with some satisfactory sort of solutions, really.
Another thing was the Plessy Wagonway as well, which has always been in the background and in the past and Valley days and that, but we couldn't really come to any solution for that yet.
I think they're looking at the we're looking at the quick wing first, and that is on Cooper Road itself, and it could be one of the ideas is back in the traffic lights just to see how the flow goes. So that's when we attended the meeting in the morning for the workshop.
Just one further point to arise from Councillor Potts about the ABT, the passenger traffic coming back. I was fortunate to sit on the table with the gentleman from Senrock, is that South East Northumberland Rail Users Group?
Yes.
And what he said is, if passenger traffic comes back, the quality of the line is upgraded, so the trains go a lot faster, so the level crossing, downtime, or when the length of time the level crossings are shut, decreases dramatically, because the trains go faster. And that was a sort of minor point that hadn't actually occurred to me, but the lift from, now, please don't quote me, from something like 20 miles an hour to 60. So, you know, they go through faster the various points. So I thought it was very interesting.
Okay. Right. Minutes of the staff commission meeting. Well, the staff committee was mainly held in part 2, but then just want to draw you, I think, 2 things I want to draw your attention to. There's delegated authority regarding staff training within the budget for the town clerk, corporate services and the chair and vice chair. And there was an update regarding member training. And staff discussed staff holiday entitlements. Update about officer pension scheme that we're looking at. And update regarding the recruitment of the committee clerk, and that has gone to advert. Now. Okay. The other one was the scale grading changing and stuff. Right, there's been no meeting of the policy working group since the last meeting of the full council. So now we'll move on to PERDA, which is Mr. Ricketts' little baby.
Sorry, I'll be as short as I can. PERDA is the jargon word for the election campaign when civil servant, public servant, local government stands back a little bit because we don't want to be accused of interfering in the political campaigns. So I've circulated documents to, I think I've set 2 sets to all town councillors. What it means is business basically continues sort of as normal. It's just as officers we will be a little more discreet than perhaps we have been in the past, or sometimes are. We're a bit more conscious that the eyes of the world are looking at us, but business as usual goes on. And the one thing I want to emphasise to town councillors is you are not restricted in what you can say as a town councillor. I've sat in meetings, not here, but where elected members have felt that because there's an election campaign, they couldn't actually say things in formal meetings. And I keep saying, that just doesn't apply. You can say what you like, but you're not restricted because there's an election campaign coming on. Whether your colleagues will agree with you is a different matter. But yes, it's to say what's there. There's another batch of advice has come out from the Local Government Association. If any councillor would like that, I'll send it on. But I think 2 sets of advice is probably about enough. I've not yet seen the general advice to civil servants. I suspect that'll come out. It's usually the Cabinet Secretary sends it out. It will be very similar to the advice that you've already had because I swiped it from the previous elections. So it's just there to say it, and it's just there as a reminder. Election is on the 7th of May, and I think, like everybody, the County Council is encouraging people, if they're not registered, to register for vote. Is the 17th of April the closing date? 17th of April. So if you know people who aren't registered for vote, please get them to vote. And that's a non-political comment. Thank you, Mark. You're right.
Any questions on that, Mr. Rickett? I hope everybody reads it and understands what we've got to do and what we've got to do.
Yes, understood.
I mean, yes, it's a hobby course, as you say, Mark. If anybody wants to talk about it, just give me a shout.
Item 14, any further information items for urgent attention? I've got 2. One's the town twin visit from the people from Lawlingham. Do you want an update, John? I don't want you to do it.
Well, just to say, we are getting a party coming from Zollinger Twin Town in Germany. They're coming on the 23rd of April. Yeah. Coming on the Friday, 24th. Coming on the Friday and leaving on the Monday. On the Thursday, most of them are coming by ferry to Newcastle. The have requested to have a fish and chip dinner in a British pub. So they're going to the waterbed and Satan's Goose. But on the Saturday they're having a tour around Beamish Museum. On the Saturday evening we've got the civic dinner. And can I just sort of say, if any councillors didn't put their names forward for the dinner, can they try and do that soon so we can firm up the numbers? We have booked the holiday in for that event. So there'll be people from the town council, there'll be people from the German group, and there'll be people from the live part of the town twinning event. On the Sunday, they're going up to Annie Gardens and Castle. On the Sunday night, the live town twinning organisation is hosting a dinner for them. And then on this Monday morning, they're having a shopping trip in Newcastle, and people will catch their ferry back home again. This town twin has been going for 52 years now, because a couple of years ago we updated the charter when it was 50 years old, and the twinning was started by one of the headmasters at a school in Blythe. And there are a lot of links that people don't really see on a day-to-day basis, like the swimming club, they have events every other year really. We have had, last year there was a youth orchestra came across and they performed at the Bede Academy School, which was really, really good. They'd been up down the castle, so they were interested in Harry Potter hallways. We had the Harry Potter theme tunes and what have you. But we've also had choirs across from Germany, with the Backworth Mill Voice Choir. And lots of the tourists do come across from Germany now to visit Blythe. And I know a number of people have been across the Zonium, right across the Dorf and go there. So the interest is still there from a lot of people in Blythe and a lot of people in Germany, because they've formed their own citizens group. So it's not just the councillors that are coming. There's a group of 25 of them. A lot of them aren't involved in the council. They're people who just live in zoning who want to come across and see the twin town. So we hope we'll have a successful visit.
Councillor?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity of promoting Blythe when the opportunity exists. Given the circumstances and since it's public knowledge with regard to Blythe being a venue for the cyclists in September, the Tour of Britain. That being the case, perhaps we can bring it to the attention of the German visitors and all that we can circulate that information and bring as many people over from Germany as possible to spend the money in Blythe and see the event, including our good friend who came over on his banana cycle. He might want to come again.
Right, the cycle race that you have noticed in the press, it's really exciting. It's coming through Northumberland, coming down the coast, and everyone's all excited. And I'm going to move that Kat tells us a little bit more about it, because she's been involved as a county councillor. It's a county council event, but she also attends the events
We're
coming here.
partnering up with the town council to hold the event, which is going to, well, as I say, fantastic for Blythe. They're going to start from up the coastway in Scotland, come down. They'll go through St Delville, Clementon and that, and then the end stop is the Blythe Marketplace. So I think it's a big event for Blythe. It's a tour of Britain, and I think it's just going to be getting everybody out there. It's on a Wednesday, from the 7th to the 9th of May. It'll end up, it'll go through Northumberland, it'll end up in Trudder and before it goes on. So it's like the whole of Northumberland really. I think it'll be absolutely brilliant. It's something that this town is really needing. And I think it's exciting times that we're being given the chance.
Can I just say, I mean, the stage 4 event does finish in the marketplace in Blythe. It'll be broadcast to 130 different countries. There's fantastic support for cycling throughout the whole world now. Just for businesses in Blythe, and just keep that date, because the cameras will be all over Blythe, particularly on that day, to see what's here. And they're bound to do interviews with cyclists all over the place. And then the next day it starts with project to continue.
I think it's raised the profile in Blythe.
I mean, we've got lots of cycle tracks in Blythe, and Sustrans have done a lot of work, haven't they? And with cycling and that sort.
Which they're going to be doing more.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who like to cycle around Blythe. so it's going to be really exciting.
We're going to be back on the map and we'll be up there instead of being run down on the ground. Where we're going to be. Looking forward to it.
Is there any other business? Okay.
Just following on from that, can I suggest that the new website has a page for the tour of Britain Cycle Road?
Yes, we have a briefing with James Fell from County on 30th of March, and Liam will be involved because Liam will be our communications officer with effect from the 1st of April.
Liam, would you like to-
Yeah, I had a meeting today with camping. I've got all that for it and the cycle which are now to go off. I finally got them sent through today, but they're to go with immediate effect.
Can I just mention another event before we finish, because I think this is great. Last year we did the Northumberland Line. That's going to happen again this year on the 27th of June as well. So that's another big event that's coming to live. A lot more different groups and that. So that's
We've got a volunteer group if anybody wants to volunteer to do the sensory garden and tidy that up and things. Ali runs that.
I think, Mum, if I could see the live event, even as a band that I've heard of, Doctor and the Medics. They did Spirit in the Sky.
Oh my goodness, it must be old.
Friends of mine are playing, Capri's.
You're well connected.
all good stuff.
If there's nothing else then, the date of the next meeting of full council is Thursday, 21st of May. So please note the annual town meeting is to take place on Thursday, the 28th of May, 2015. Thank you very much for your attendance.
28th of May.
That's the town
Town
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, you said the 20th.
No, I said 28th.
28th.
I'll get me tea.
George is Jerry, yes.
21st and then the
21st and then the
Somebody